Imagine that you are able to hop into an online interview for your dream job in a few minutes. The years you spent building your skills and portfolio have all been leading up to this moment. The moment comes, and you take a deep breath. You click the link to join the interview. Suddenly, your screen says, "Connection error." You tried to join once again, but it's still not working. You check your internet, and there it is. It's the culprit. An hour goes by, you lost your chance. Imagine how painful it would be if that happened to you. But that is a reality many face daily. Providing internet service to people is costly. This is why many people in remote areas are usually left with poor internet services. 50% of humanity doesn't even have access to the internet. If there is just a way to provide cheap and reliable internet for anyone globally, it would definitely be a game changer. Elon Musk thought of the same thing a few years ago. Now, he is in the early phases of his Starlink project. Today, we will talk about his revolutionary company, Starlink. Internet for everyone. Companies have to build complicated infrastructures and lay down miles of cables to provide internet service. These internet lines are usually only accessible in densely populated areas, so there is an untapped market of people who need internet services. However, most companies are not willing to invest because it's not profitable for them to do so. Elon Musk saw this problem, and he decided, you know what, if these people can't have internet lines, let's give them satellites instead. This is how Starlink was born in 2014. A futuristic name has to come with a futuristic purpose. Starlink's goal is to launch thousands of small satellites in low Earth orbit and then beam internet signals back to anywhere on Earth. This will be done with the help of advanced reusable rockets from SpaceX. Speaking of SpaceX, the company's cost-effective method of using reusable rockets has proved very useful for the Starlink project. It cuts up a massive chunk of cost in transporting the satellites compared to using conventional means, like the old single-use rockets. The project will have around 42,000 small satellites circling the planet at its total capacity. At the moment, it has 2,200 functioning satellites that are carrying out initial beta tests. The initial batch of satellites were put to test when the war in Ukraine broke out. Elon Musk sent out Starlink units to the country in response to Vice Prime Minister Mikhailo Fedorov's request. The technology was used to provide connectivity in areas with zero coverage. Fedorov soon reported that around 140,000 people are using the service every day. It's estimated that if Starlink manages to get a hold of the remaining market for people without proper internet service, it would bring in up to $30 to $50 billion a year. This revenue is more than enough to fund the development of the technology that would take us to Mars. It can also be used to fund the actual mission to colonize the Red Planet. It's like hitting the flock of birds with just one stone. Starlink's progress. Starlink satellites fly in low Earth orbit to have less latency, which means faster internet. Usually, communication satellites fly at around 35,000 kilometers above the surface because of low drag due to lack of air. In lower orbits of around 500 kilometers, where Starlink satellites are located, drag can significantly reduce the life of the satellites. This trade-off in the life of satellites in exchange for faster and more reliable internet is worth it in the long run. After all, SpaceX already figured out a cheap way to transport satellites in huge batches, so it won't be a problem to replace them. Each satellite is also equipped with Krypton-fueled hull thrusters, which allow them to fall back to Earth by themselves when they are not in use anymore. If you're worried about falling chunks of satellites in the future, they would easily burn up while entering the atmosphere, just like most meteorites. This is great in preventing more space waste, which could pose a huge threat to the future of space travel if we're not careful. Initial testing of Starlink shows that they are capable of providing up to 150 megabits per second of internet, which is way faster than existing satellite-based internet providers like HughesNet Satellite Internet, which can only reach 25 megabits per second. When it comes to pricing, Starlink would cost $99 a month for basic internet service, with the added one-time fee of $499 for the hardware you would need to install. On the other hand, HughesNet Satellite Internet costs $150 for its 25 megabit per second service. Elon Musk has no word yet if the price will change, but its current performance is already convincing. In an interview at Mobile World Congress 2021, Elon Musk said, There's a need for connectivity in places that don't have it right now. Or it is connectivity is very limited or very expensive, but it may be possible, like I said, that's simply not available. You can think of Starlink as filling in the gaps between 5G and fiber and really getting to the parts of the world that are the hardest to reach, the most difficult to reach. 3%, possibly 5%, and I think it really quite nicely complements fiber and 5G. Elon's Starlink project has been well received, with 250,000 subscribers across 25 countries. It is expected that this number will continue to grow together with the number of satellites sent to orbit. Even if it's not at its total capacity, the service is already capable of providing decent speeds. Its target is to eventually provide up to 10 gigabit per second of internet speed to its customers. The challenges. Unfortunately, Starlink's rise is not as smooth as Elon's rocket launches. It is currently facing legal battles that significantly slow down its expansion. For its second generation of 30,000 satellites, it applied for a proposal to the Federal Communications Commission. It didn't go so well because Amazon argued that FCC should grant only one of the requested configurations for the Starlink network instead of two. This prompted SpaceX itself to step in by calling out Amazon for causing unnecessary delays to the development and deployment of the satellites. Elon Musk's arch-rival, Jeff Bezos, is delaying Starlink because of his own project. Amazon's Cooper project, which will use the same principles as Starlink to provide internet, has yet to release any satellite into orbit. They are planning to launch a total of 3,236 satellites in total. If they aren't able to launch at least half of it by 2022, the FCC's approval of their satellite network will be voided. As if that wasn't enough, on November 26, 2021, Starlink encountered a new problem. India's Department of Telecommunications tweeted a warning not to purchase Starlink services because it doesn't have any license yet. This caused further delays to any orders in the region. Starlink and DOT of India have never been on good terms. In April, due to a possible breach of its telecom law, DOT started investigating the company's beta release. This was also due to pressure from Broadband India Forum, which represents big tech companies, according to the Economic Times. Astronomers have also voiced their concerns against the satellites because they reflect too much sunlight when they are up into the atmosphere. The light coming from the satellites interferes with their equipment. Elon addressed this issue by coating the reflective parts of the satellites with light-absorbing materials, thus lessening its effect. Many people are also concerned with the amount of space junk that it might generate. If left unchecked, faulty satellites can collide with other satellites. This would create a chain effect of more satellites being destroyed in a process. If this happens, space travel will become impossible for humanity for hundreds or even thousands of years. Luckily, this scenario is far from happening. Low-orbit satellites on average can only last up to 3 years in orbit after being decommissioned. In case they fall back to Earth, they would burn up easily. If they would somehow stay in the sky for too long, other satellites would be able to avoid them in time, using trackers and lasers. Genius with a touch of crazy. When Starlink becomes available for everyone, no one will have to worry about missing an important interview anymore. It would also give people who are in remote areas access to information. It could be used to educate more people and to help countries that need more connectivity. Just imagine how much it would change the world as we know it. One Starlink satellite is like a puzzle piece. When 42,000 of them are combined, we get a clear picture of a more interconnected world. It would take a crazy person to come up with similarly crazy ideas. At first, Elon's idea might sound like borderline insanity, but it's now a reality. With Starlink, people around the world can now have access to the internet no matter where they are. As the very first player in the market, Starlink is in a comfortable position as the leader in this industry, all thanks to its founder, who has ideas that are as crazy as he is. Please don't forget to comment and subscribe. Let us know what you think.